Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Khalid Al-Junaid, and I'm going to open this session, Love, Addiction and Mercy. And today we have a distinguished guest who is an active participant in the fight against drugs, or more into the rehabilitation process. He is the deputy president of Pengasih right now, 23 years in Pengasih. So he spent his time that's quite a long time, almost a lifetime. And he knows, I think, end to end about drugs, substance, addiction. And I was there in Pengasih in 1999.
As a guest.
As a guest, yeah. So I know that Pengasih has done really good job, and one of the better well-known rehabilitation and therapeutic community center in Southeast Asia. So today we have with us Hafizi, and is Kamal joining us?
Yes, Kamal.
So we don't want to just focus on the issue of addiction, because addiction is a big issue, but we want to take from the standpoint of how we can look from the standpoint of love and mercy, and to treat this issue. So Hafizi has some slides that he has prepared, so I wouldn't take too much time.
Okay. Can I start now?
Yep.
Thank you very much, Brother Khalid. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Brothers and sisters, my name is Hafizi Harun, and I am from an organization called Pengasih. Have you guys heard of Pengasih? You know? Have you heard of Pengasih? What do you know of Pengasih, brother?
Rehabilitation Center for Addiction.
It is a rehabilitation center for addiction. Yes, Pengasih is an association run exclusively by those who were once addicted to drugs. It's an association run exclusively by former drug addicts or drug abusers. So myself, I was once a drug abuser, and my brother here, Kamal Ajit, was also one, and brother Abdullah. Okay, so Pengasih, why Pengasih? Do you know what Pengasih means? No? Samia, do you know what Pengasih means? Pengasih means loving. Pengasih is the name of my association, and it means in Malay, it means loving. So hence, I was given this topic, love, addiction, and mercy. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about addiction, which is an issue that has been plaguing our community, that has been plaguing our ummah. Okay, so addiction, defining addiction. What does addiction mean? Addiction is a continued involvement with a substance or an activity despite negative consequences, meaning that the inability to stop using a certain substance or doing certain things despite being confronted with negativities in a person's lives. Okay. There are two types of addiction. Okay, one is substance addiction or drugs addiction, meaning that a person is addicted to substances such as alcohol, ganja, ketamine, methamphetamines, heroin, morphine. And one more type of addiction is behavioral addiction, or also known as process addiction, which means a person is addicted to behaviors like gambling, pornography, sex, and so on. Okay, now we're going to be understanding substance addiction. Okay, not all person who uses drugs are addicts. Not everyone who uses drugs, who try using drugs once, twice, thrice, end up becoming an addict. Okay? For a person to end up becoming an addict, he or she, they have to go through certain stages. Okay? And the stages are 4. Experimental stage, recreational or situational stage, regular use, and dependent or addiction. Okay, experimental. Experimental is when a person tries out using substance for the very first time. In my experience as a counselor in Pengasih, whenever I do my session with clients, whenever I do my interview with clients, I would always ask them, when was your first time experimenting with drugs? When was your first time using drugs? And the answer that I get from majority of the clients, 90%, started experimenting with drugs between the age of 14 to 17. 14 to 17. So, their first experience with drugs. And then after that, the second stage is recreational stage, where when a person already experienced abusing drugs and already are familiar with its effect, he or she begins to abuse it or to misuse it based on the desired effect. Meaning that, or based on situations, when they want to go party, when they want to feel confident during an interview, when they want to have more focus studying.
This is like recreational users.
Recreational and situational. They are using it for fun and for social purposes. And the third stage is regular use, meaning that the use is now more frequent, the dose is more frequent, the dose has been increased, and the use is much more frequent. Maybe before this, they are only using for a certain or specific social situation, but now during the third stage, the use has been increased where they use once, twice, thrice a week, 4 times a week, frequent use. And then the last stage is the dependent use or addiction, where this is where a person's use is unmanageable. Financially, socially, psychologically, experiencing with a lot of problems in his or her lives. Okay. So you guys get me, right? Okay. Stages of addiction. So now we're going to be talking on addiction, because before this, there are a lot of views, different views on how people view addiction, because how we view a certain problem will influence how we treat or how we address the problem. Like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, addiction was viewed as a moral issue. So they tried to cure addiction they try to instill discipline on the addict in trying to cure addiction, where there are programs, boot camps, regimented programs, using the military approach, a lot of physical activities, because they try to instill discipline on the addicts, because they are looking from the perspective of addiction as a moral issue, where addicts are being seen as bad people, lazy, stubborn, it's a choice, you're digging your own grave. So they try to instill discipline on the person.
So that doesn't work really well. I mean, just the discipline aspect, you enforce the physical aspect, so that doesn't really have an impact on the addicts.
Yes and no. There are some of my friends, they they managed to kick, okay, their habit based from that kind of approach, okay, the punitive approach, okay, because man, I had it, and I don't want to go back there again. Enough for me. No, it's a lesson for me. I will never touch drugs again, and I will never go back there again. So it worked for some, but not for everyone. Okay, but for some, they become rebellious. And they go against the system because of that approach. Okay.
Just to share a story, when I was growing up in Penang, in my kampung there, last time there was, when I was small, there was an addict, heroin addict. So what they did was they tied the heroin addict to a pole and let him be there. And it was
under the sun.
Under the sun. So it was torturous, and it was like, wow, it was
tied to a tree as well, and then being beaten by ants.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Okay. Inhumane. You cannot do it now. You know. Okay. One. Okay. Back then, again, there are also some group of people who view addiction as a problem with iman. Okay, problem with spirituality or iman. So they try to treat addiction using the faith-based approach, using religiosity. Okay, like in Malaysia we have all this sekolah pondok, inaba. In Indonesia we have the pesantren approach where they are using Islamic elements. Islamic approach in addressing addiction, where an addict is being sent there, and the program that he or she has to undergo is from morning until night, based on Islamic rituals, zikir, jemaah prayers, tahajud, duha, sunnah taubah, all these activities. And not only Islamic approach, but also Christian approach as well. They have it, the church, they have it, using the Christian approach, and also the Hindu approach, and also the Buddhism approach in treating addiction. Faith-based, they call it. And back then again, they also have a group of people who view addiction as a health issue, where they try to treat addiction with medicine, Subutex, Naltrexone, methadone. Okay, but now this is the current definition of addiction. Okay, due to the advancement of technology, okay, there are a lot of research that has been done on brains of addicted individuals, and they compare it, the scan of people who uses drugs, and they compare it with healthy brains of people who have not been using drugs. So they found out that it affects the brain significantly. It affects how the brain function. It affects the neurotransmitters, how the neurotransmitters send and receive messages. It affects our reward circuitry. So now the current definition is addiction is a chronic, which means it is a long-lasting, okay, relapsing. There's always a possibility of relapsing, just like any other form of chronic illnesses such as hypertension, diabetes, hypertension. If you don't manage it well, it can always come back. There's this relapsing element in addiction. So it is a chronic relapsing brain disease that is characterized by compulsive substance seeking and use despite harmful consequences, meaning that the inability to stop despite being presented with a lot of issues and problems in a person's lives. Okay, a little bit of science. Okay, These are parts of the brain most affected by substance use: the brainstem, the cerebral cortex, and the limbic system. Okay, brainstem. The function of a brainstem is to control functions critical to life. It controls our heartbeat, our breathing and sleeping pattern. Cerebral cortex here is the brain's judgment center. This is where all the information that has been sent by our senses are being processed here. So this is the judgment center of the brain. And the limbic system contains the brain's reward circuit. Okay, addiction and the reward circuit. Our brain, my brain, and everyone else who's here right now, our brains are programmed the same. We are wired the same. Our brains are wired to ensure that we repeat activities every day, which is called the life-sustaining activities, meaning that every day, you and me, the moment we wake up, what do we do every day? What do we have to do? What do we do every day, you and me? Not check and phone. We need to go to the toilet. We need to do our businesses, number 1 and number 2. Right? Okay. Every one of us. We need to eat every day. We need to drink every day. We need to sleep every day. Right? So, it's the same for everyone. Because it is for survival. We need that. We need to go to the toilet, to defecate, to pee. We need to eat for energy, for nutrients. We need to sleep, to reboot, to rest. Okay. So, because we need to do that, because our lives are dependent on doing all these activities, so that's why it is called life-sustaining activities. And because we need to do this every day, our brain associate these activities with pleasure. That's why we feel pleasure. We feel pleasure doing it. We feel pleasure sleeping. We feel pleasure eating. We feel, I just had a sandwich at midpoint. 2. So we feel pleasure eating. We feel pleasure drinking. We feel pleasure sleeping. So it shows that our brain has the capacity to feel good and pleasure naturally from natural activities. We are capable of feeling good. Okay. Now, when a person takes external substances, drugs like methamphetamines, drugs like ganja, drugs like heroin, drugs like alcohol, external substances, okay? When it is being consumed and ingested, so the brain will overproduce lots of these feel-good chemicals. It will overproduce chemicals like dopamines, endorphins. Our feel-good chemicals. It will make the brain flooded with all of these chemicals. So the overstimulation of the reward circuit, which rewards our natural behaviors such as sleeping, eating, drinking, and even sexual behavior, produces the euphoric effect. It makes a person feel good and high. Okay, so these effects makes the person sort out the behavior and thus repeating it. And because we seek pleasure, we want to avoid pain, we seek pleasure, we will repeat all the things that will make us feel good, right? We sleep every day, we eat. All this makes us feel good. We connect with one another. We procreate, we have relationships because it makes us feel good. So, but when a person takes drugs, the brain registers feel good. So, let's explain how a person is drawn to repeat, using drugs. Until Some of them become addicted. Some people repeat, they don't become an addict. Okay? Some people, the handbrake does not work anymore. Okay. See, the reward. The reward from naturally rewarding behaviors, from natural activities, from sleeping, from drinking, from eating, from having sex, okay, compared to the reward from using drugs, is 7 to 10 times greater. Using drugs produces 7 to 10 times greater the feeling of pleasure. So that's why when a person is hooked, they don't care about their sleeping pattern anymore. They don't care about good food. They don't care about human interaction anymore, meaningful human interaction. They don't care about their families anymore. All they care about is drugs. Okay. So, addiction is a disorder of the whole person. It means that when a person is being addicted, it affects the person as a whole. It affects the person. It affects the person psychologically. It affects the person physiologically or physically. It affects a person socially, and it affects a person spiritually. All the aspects of the person is being affected. Family aspect, social aspect, financial aspect, all of this. So addiction is the disorder of the whole person. And addiction is a symptom, not the essence of the disorder. What it means here is that addiction is the end result from many underlying issues. Because the nature of drugs is therapeutic, it heals. The nature of drugs is healing. When we have flu or fever, what do we take? What do we usually take? Panadol or paracetamol. When we have toothache, what do we take? Constant. Okay. So when you go to when you have a cough, what do you usually take? Codeine. Okay. So drugs. The nature of drugs is therapeutic, it heals. When we want to go to an operating theatre, we are given what? Morphine, right? So, the nature is healing. What about the illicit drugs that people are abusing? The methamphetamines, the ketamines, the marijuana, the heroin. So, it heals as well for them. For the person, it is a mechanism of healing. Healing what? Psychological disturbance, physical pain. Okay. So, addiction is a symptom, not the essence of the disorder. When a person comes with addiction to any rehab centers, it is important to probe or find out or investigate why. Why? Why the use? Why the misuse? Why do you keep on taking it? After so many years, the inability to stop despite being confronted with a lot of issues in life. Why are you still using it? Why? So, as a counselor or a therapist, it is very important to know why. If you can address the why, you can prevent it from happening again.
Or address the why not as well.
What do you mean by that, Khalid?
Because if you say maybe why I do this and I will destroy my life, that's why. But someone will say back, why not do this since I'm gonna die anyway? Might as well I have fun and have all the reward system maximized. So yeah, I'm just thinking wildly. Sorry.
Okay, we'll go back to that later after question and answer. Okay. All right. Okay. Addiction affects a person as a whole. Okay? It affects the physiological or physical component, it affects the psychological component, and it affects the social and spiritual component of the person. Okay, physiologically, some drugs, they have withdrawal symptoms. Okay? If you are to be off it, you tend to get physical pain. Okay.
What kind of drug? I mean,
heroin, opiate based. Okay. And you experience physical discomfort if you're off it, meaning that, you know, the inability to sleep, or you're shivering, you know, all this physical discomfort. So that's why some drugs, like heroin, that's why it is very hard for a person to sometimes stop taking drugs because of the physical pain. Okay. Weight loss, dependency, and medical complications, other medical complications. Some drugs causes other medical complications, diseases, other illnesses, schizophrenia, depression. Okay. Okay, psychological components or shame, guilt, insecurity, anger, loneliness, lack of confidence, no impulse control, intolerance, rejection. All these are feelings generated by chronic drug use. Okay, when a person has been using drugs for so long, he or she experiences all this: the shame, the guilt, the anger, the hopelessness.
compared to like normal people who don't use drugs,
Okay.
they don't have all this at the same time. I mean, some people will still have guilt even though they don't use drugs, but it's not. It's amplified.
Yeah. Okay. What is like I said, the nature of drugs is healing. Okay. Drugs also, it suppresses emotions. It numbs. Okay? It numbs or suppresses emotions. So, when a user is feeling angry, feeling sad, or feeling guilt, by using drugs, it numbs or it suppresses. So, when a person enters a treatment facility, a treatment center, okay, there's no more drugs. There's no more drugs used. And all these feelings, all these things that they have been suppressing, comes up. You know, the guilt, the shame, the anger. So that's why it is important to address all this. Because drug can be a way of them managing their emotions. And behavioral state, okay, drugs changes a person's behavior. When a person is addicted, addiction is a very expensive habit, very expensive, you know. It affects you financially, it affects you at work, you know. You cannot focus, and then you have no money, but you still need to take it every day. Otherwise, you're gonna feel discomfort, you're gonna feel pain. So, and then you resort, because you don't have money, but you need to have it every day. So some clients, some individuals, they resort to crimes or to doing petty crimes. They cheat, they lie, they steal, they manipulate. So it changes a person's behavior, and eventually it changes a person's character because of drugs. So he's a different person when he's on drugs or under the influence or during his addiction years. So isolate or withdrawn, escape reality, manipulation, inability to delay gratification, antisocial behavior, deficit in social skills. So as you can see, it becomes a vicious cycle. Okay, drugs or addiction affects a person physiologically, psychologically, socially, and if these components is not being addressed when a person enters treatment or when they are in recovery, okay, it will become all these discomforts, will become signals for them or cue for them to use drugs. Whenever they are feeling sad, whenever they are feeling bored, whenever they are feeling angry, whenever they are being rejected, whenever they feel pain, it becomes a signal for them to use. Because that's the only way they know how to cope with life, with issues and problems. Okay, process addiction. The next type of addiction is behavioral or process addiction. Okay, process addictions or behavioral addictions are behaviors known to be addictive because they are mood altering. It alters a person's mood. Okay, gambling, shopping, work, exercise, internet, sex, pornography, stealing. Okay, as you can see, almost anything can become a process addiction, can become an addiction if it starts to follow the criteria for an addictive disorder. It can become an addiction if there are these criteria. Tolerance, meaning that you need to do it more for you to feel the same effect, for you to feel pleasure. You need to increase your behaviors for you to feel pleasure. That's tolerance. Or withdrawals. You feel discomfort when you try to be off it. Okay, when you watch, for a person who gambles, okay, it's not a substance, it's an activity. For a gambler, when he or she tries to stop, he or she will experience discomfort, withdrawal from the behavior. Just like sex, a person who is addicted to sex or pornography tries to cut down on the said behavior, they will experience withdrawals, discomfort. Okay. Greater quantity or intensity than intended, meaning that you try to plan the frequency of your behavior, but you end up doing more. For example, like a gambler. Okay, I'm just gonna gamble once today. I'm just gonna go, stop by, then I'm just gonna play one game. And he or she end up playing until the next day. I'm just gonna bet on $10. And he or she end up betting on losing what? 10,000, yeah. Okay. Unsuccessful attempts at cutting back, stopping. Okay. The handbrake has been broken. Inability to stop. Time spent preparing, engaging, and recovering from the behavior. Loss in other life domains, meaning that due to the behaviors that you are addicted to, a person who is addicted to causes other losses in his or her life's domain, causes problems in school, at work, in relationships, because of the said behavior. Continued despite significant consequences, meaning, marital problems, still unable to stop, work problems, warning after warning from work, keep missing work or school because of the said behaviors, but still continue doing it despite negative consequences. And there's secrecy, used as an escape, and involved with illegal activities. All right, my last slide. So what do we do? Okay? What do we do? Based from my experience working, based from my personal and professional experience working in the field of addiction, I see love and connection is very important. It's one of the crucial elements in treating a person successfully. Okay, because why? Opposite of addiction is connection. Addiction is about the user's inability to connect in healthy and meaningful ways with others. Okay, when a person uses drugs, he forms a connection and a relationship with the substance or the behavior. Okay, you guys follow me, right?
Basically falling in love with the drug.
Yeah, you are having an intimate relationship, you are married or having an intimate relationship, you are with the substance. Okay, when you develop that kind of intimate connection and relationship with a substance, automatically all the connections that you have, okay, the current connections that you have, your connection with work, your connection with society, your connection with your loved ones, your connection with community, gonna be severed, gonna be cut, severed.
Because you prioritize your relationship with
Yeah.
drugs.
So, in recovery, once you have cut a person's connection with their drugs of choice, okay, so that's when the hard work begins, meaning that hard work in building connection to society, to significant others, to work, to God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or higher power. Because you have broken the connection with drugs and there's no more connection. So if you want to be off drugs and lead a meaningful life, a person needs to build meaningful, healthy and meaningful connections. Okay, so addiction correlates strongly with feelings of low self-esteem, loneliness, depression, and guilt. All these are signs of a person struggling to find meaning of existence. What am I here for? Why is my life like this? Existential questions. What's next? Why am I here? So having connection, meaningful connection, and connecting a person back to other people, to community, you will make them feel loved and belonged and develop a sense of purpose and a sense of belonging. And spirituality is a strong component in facilitating healing. Being connected to a higher power helps us gain a different understanding of life events. Spirituality. Why spirituality is important? Or religiosity or spirituality. A person can be off drugs, a person can be in recovery, not using drugs anymore, but they can still be very miserable, unhappy, depressed, angry at the world, whining and complaining. They are not using drugs. They are normal, but they are miserable. So in recovery, we teach or we encourage our clients to be connected to a power higher than themselves. Kalau Islam is for Muslims, Allah, of course, and for other religions as well, connecting them to their beliefs. Because if you have that connection, it will help you gain a different understanding of life events. For example, a few days ago, I was interviewed by a radio show, Astro, Zayan FM, and one of the guests there was Ameng Spring, a Malaysian rock singer. He shared his experience during the interview. He was imprisoned for 8 years. He was imprisoned for 8 years and he received the 10 strokes of the cane, whipping. And he was there for 8 years. But when he told his story, how was it? When you flash back, how did it mean for you? He said that I gained a lot from it. Hikmah. He said that because of he was in prison there, he started reading Al-Quran, reading Muqaddam, Alif, Ba, Ta, Sa, Jim, Ha, Ho, and then from scratch. Like Alif, he had to write it A-L-I-F. No, Ba, B-A. He learned Alif Bata from scratch, and then within the period of 8 years, he khatam 12 times. Meaning that he khatam twice every year, once every 6 months. So 12 times. Said, I managed to read Quran, which I never did throughout my years. And then I khatam 12 times. Then now it has been a part of my life. And I end up now being a motivator because of my past experience. So see, spirituality made him view his life events differently. Syukur. Nothing in Islam is coincidental. Now, I would like to call my friend, Mr. Kamal Ajit, who has a very interesting experience being a revert. And who was, okay, share.
Good evening, everyone. Assalamualaikum.
Okay.
Okay, I was born Ajit Kumar Narayanan. I was born into a Hindu family. And I have 2 sisters and a brother, that's 4 of us. And the family, we were a middle class family. Because of some misunderstanding between my mother and father, when I was young, say about 7 or 8 years old, they divorced. So I stayed mainly with my mother's side of the family. She had 4 sisters and 2 brothers. So we stayed more with our mother's side of the family. And we were average. We were not wanting for anything. In fact, my mother's sisters and brothers showed more attention to us since we were without a father. And they educated us very well. And I was taught a lot of things at a young age itself. One day I saw my mom, she had a friend, a Christian friend, and she was a teacher, and she used to take my mom to church on a Sunday. Every Sunday she used to come and fetch her. So one day, being very close to my mom, I wanted to go with my mom. I told my mom, look, I also want to come to church. But my mom told me one thing, wait, you're too young to decide what religion you want. I was 7 years old. No, I was 8 years old then. So you're too young to decide what religion suits you. Grow up first, and then you will decide what you want. So that still remained in my mind. That sparked my curiosity. I'm a very curious person. If you notice, all intelligent people are curious. Those who try drugs also are curious and intelligent, not normal people. That's what. No, I don't mean it that way, but curiosity kills a cat sometimes. So it has been at the back of my mind. And one day when I was 12 years old, I was reading the newspaper and we came, those days families, aunties, uncles, all kalau belum kahwin lagi duduk satu rumah. My mother's eldest sister had a government house in Lower Ampang Road, KL, and we all used to jam up there. The 2 younger sisters were not married. One was a teacher, one was a nurse. And me and my brother and sisters, we all stayed together. So they were having a discussion, and I was reading a newspaper, and I read there, and suddenly it struck me They were talking about the Malaysian economy, about poor people, rich people. And I just said, I told my cousin sister, hey, I have the answer, man, to this poor and rich. So she looked at me and entertained me. Okay, what is your answer? She smiled. I said, easy, the rich give to the poor, and everyone will be equal. And she laughed. You're too young to understand. But to me, it looked so simple. So that inspiration came to me, and it was in my mind, and I was searching. Why can't anyone see it that way? Why can't everyone see it that way? So simple. Why was there rich and poor? Anyway, so I went through life. I went to India to study. I came back, and this was still at the back of my mind. I used to pray. I believe in God. I used to pray. That time I was a Hindu, right? And when I was in India, I had an experience with substances. This was in the 70s. Hippie people, peace, make love, not war, and all that.
So did you get hooked?
Yeah. It was okay, ganja at first, some tablets. But when I started to inject morphine, not heroin, there was no heroin then. But when I started to inject morphine, then it became quite severe because the substance was going into the bloodstream and direct. So morphine is meant as a painkiller. So if you don't take it, you have increased the resistance to your pain, you see. You have decreased. So everything, the whole body. Can you imagine 50 elephants jumping on you? That's how you would have felt the pain. There was no one to tell me what is withdrawals. I had to go through it myself. Got on a flight. I finished my degree. Thanks to God, I finished my degree. Got on a flight, reached Penang, came home, and for 2 weeks or close to a month, I didn't have any conversation at all with my siblings. The only conversation I had with my mother was, she'll ask me in the morning, what do you want for breakfast? I'll tell her. And then lunchtime she'll ask me, what do you want for lunch? And I'll tell her. And dinner. And I just used to sit out there and look out into space. It took me a while to get back my senses and coordination and thinking, because there was this substance that was not there to make me complete. Was so dependent on it. It became part of my body. The drugs, the ganja. Physical exercise helped me. Sports helped me a lot. That's why I stress, as human beings, we should play games. There was a badminton court. I played badminton every evening, and that got back my confidence, my health. And I managed to get my life back. I was teaching for a while. I have a degree in agriculture. I got a job in Sabah in the estates. And I went over to work as a carrot planter in Tawab, Sabah.
What about your addiction?
Yes.
Still...
No, that was okay. I had finished it. I overcome that. My family were very understanding because I had a cousin. He was a doctor. And he was in India studying when I was there. And I went to visit him during holidays. And he showed me ganja, and said, hey look, we smoke this here, it's alright, not so bad. He knew about it, but they took it as for entertainment sake. They used to play guitar, music, they had a band there, so they took it on for entertainment purposes. Whereas me, it became an everyday affair, every day. So when they realized that I was hooked on a substance, I was into drug addiction, substance abuse, he advised my family, it's okay, it's alright, at least he has finished his degree. Ask him to come back and he'll be okay. So they didn't actually jump on me or kill me or take adverse actions. They treated me as normal. So I was lucky in that aspect. There was someone in my family to explain to them, this is not a major problem. It's alright. People make mistakes in life. You have to overcome that. But when I went to Sawau, because I was dependent on a substance, and I couldn't get the drugs, the ganja and all, I resorted to alcohol. The managers used to smoke after work. They used to get on. It was interior. It is not near the town. The estate was inside, interior. So there's nothing much to do in the evening after work. So the managers used to get around, have a couple of beers, but they just had a couple of beers only, and they used to go back. And to me, a couple of years was not enough. I was searching for that the level which I used to have. Very difficult to say. That searching for that fulfillment. Because actually I was not yet satisfied with myself. There was still some emptiness. There's still something I was searching for. I don't know. I can't find what it was actually. I don't know what, at the moment. So I used to drink every day, practically every day. And it became quite worse. So much so that in the morning, in the daytime also, before going to work, I had to drink. And I was terminated from my work. And I came back to West Malaysia. I went for treatment under Prof. Hussein. He gave me some medication. I joined a medical company, being a product specialist, selling orthopedic implants. Very good. I had my alcohol under control only in the evenings. I started playing activities. Good job. But that's something still missing in my life. Used to go to the pubs in the night after work, hang around there until 12, 1 o'clock, come back late. No purpose. Not yet. Not yet. That was not yet. And during my work as a product specialist, I have to go all over hospitals throughout Malaysia, go to hospitals throughout Malaysia, and show them the products we are using, because it's called orthopedics, internal implant. They put plates in your broken bones to heal it together. I met this nurse in one of the hospitals in Johor, and we became friendly. And she came up to Malacca to work, and I lost my job at that moment. Was terminated because of my drinking. I went to stay with her. We got married. My family thought if I got married, I would be more responsible. I wouldn't drink. But no, that was not the point. It became worse. I felt insecure. I felt inferior. All these excuses to drink. One day my wife caught me. She caught me with a bottle in the hand. I had hidden the bottle in the room, in the house. And in the night I went and took it to drink. And then she put on the light and said, "What is that you have in your hand?" I said, "Look at it. Like a small kid, no caught." Then she said, "Okay." She said, "Ask me one thing. If you really love me, take that bottle and throw it away." And I couldn't throw the bottle. Can you imagine? Not to say I didn't love her, but I love her. But I couldn't throw the bottle because of the withdrawal. What I'm going to go through. The withdrawal, the physical, emotional, the withdrawal. Then she told me, "Look, you don't love me, you love your bottle." And then we divorced. So, go in.
Pengasih, and then how you...
So, my elder sister found pengasih. She said, "Why don't you try this rehab center?" The moment I heard rehab center, I thought barbed wire, searchlights, prisoner of war camp, that kind of thing. Oh my God, am I going to go there, that kind of place? I said, "Okay, I'll give it a shot," because I've tried to see a psychiatrist, it didn't work out. So I said, "Let's go." But when I saw pengasih, have you all been to pengasih? No, come. When you enter, it's beautiful. It's full of grass, full of trees, and it looked like a resort. I said, "Man, okay, I can stay here." And one of the first persons to meet me at the gate was Abang Habizi, Bro Habizi here, who became my counselor until now. So I like the concept that they had, because the person at the security at the gate there was wearing a tie. He was wearing tie and long sleeves, and he was wearing shoes, man, leather shoes. Rehab center, and he was one of the residents there. And I said, "Okay, when do we wear tie and long sleeves with the shoes and all? When we go to work, right?" And I said, "Good, hey, there's something in this program. They're instilling something in this program to make the person feel good." All right, so I finished. I was in the program. I came off, I finished my treatment, I left. I tried to continue life outside, couldn't. I relapsed, I came back again. Yes. And then I relapsed, I relapsed again, but I was too shy to come back to pengasih. So I went to a Christian center. And I said, "Okay, good. Maybe this is the way God is showing me that since I want to know what is the true religion, I'm a Hindu, this is a Christian center, let's read the Bible, let's find out." By the way, my ex-wife was a Buddhist, was a Confucius. She was a Chinese, she is a Chinese, and she's a Confucius Taoist. There's nothing much in that religion also. You see, the different religions. Now I got Christianity here. I was in a Christian center. I read the Bible. Didn't have much impact. At least I know what it is. All right. And then they decided to extend from 1 year to 2 years. So I took the van and I stole the van and I came back to Pengasih. I said to the van.
What happened after you stole the van?
So after stealing the van, came back to Pengasih, and they said, okay, we won't take you until you finish. The centers, the owner of the center complained, reported the police. The police came because I told Pengasih, call the owner. It's his van. He will come and collect. And that bugger came with.
So it has been reported and it has become a police case.
Police case. So I had to go and settle it in court.
And then you went to jail.
I went to jail. I was in Sungai Buloh remand for 1 year. 9 months. So that was another experience. It gave me time to read the Bible, like you said. I had time, more than enough time to read the Bible from page to page. Came out. So that time I was a Christian, right? So I came out and then there's no other place to go except back to Pengasih. Then I went back to Pengasih and I was there. I finished that. After 2 years, again, I wanted to go out and look for life, on my own. I left. And while searching for a job, I met an Indian guy, was working in the apartment where I was renting, you see. And one day he comes and tells me, look, I have an Indonesian girlfriend and I have a problem. So I know he has a girlfriend. Hey, what's the problem? He said, she's pregnant. So I said, okay, all right, no problem. It's not a problem. She's Muslim, you're Indian. You want to keep the baby, you have to become a Muslim. So he said, how do I go about it? I said, okay, follow me. So I took him to Masjid Kampung Baru. First we went to Perkema. Yeah, and then they told us, okay, no, you go to Masjid Kampung Baru, the Imam there, he will introduce you into Islam. So then my colleague told me, follow me lah, to give him confidence. I said, okay, good. Went to Masjid, sat down there, the Imam came, right? Siapa nak masuk Islam? I said, this is my colleague here. So he said, okay, he asked my colleague, okay, you alright? Yeah, everything is okay? You're doing dengan rela? You're voluntarily? Yeah. Then suddenly the Imam turns to me and tells me, what about you? So at that moment, everything flashed. You want to know all the religions? I want to know who's the true God. I asked her, and then there's an opportunity to be a Muslim, to learn about Islam. I said, yeah, okay. I also will embrace Islam. And then that's how I joined, yeah. That's very enlightening. So finished everything, and then I became Muhammad Kamal. I went to Kota Baru.
Still drinking?
And then I was still drinking still. But everyone says, no, being a Muslim cannot drink, alcohol is forbidden now. So I used to drink, but I had that guilt in me. It's like a child doing something wrong, and you know you're doing it wrong, so I was still not satisfied. And I lost my job, I couldn't hold on to a job, came back to Pengasih. And this is the longest I've been here, in Pengasih this time, about 9 years. And every time it's the same counselor, Apizi, because no one else will touch me. A problematic person, talks a lot. But Apizi, although what's our difference? 20 years.
20 years.
20 years. But he is very mature for his age. From the first time I met him, he had a very balanced thinking. At that time, we were 23. 23 that time.
Yeah.
So much so that once I surrendered to God, Allah, my life became more manageable. When we tried to resist, it was very difficult. When I wanted to do it my way, you know the song Nat King Cole? I did it my way. It didn't work out. Nothing works out. Everything, there was an obstruction. So only and until I told God, Allah, all right, I surrender. You do what you want. I will follow. Your will be done.
What do you do when you say you surrender? What do you mean by that?
That means I'm not going to decide where I want to go or what I want to do or think about my life. I will just follow the guide, the way. That is what God has said for me. I will follow what you want me to do. Allah, what you want me to do? Okay. Because I always pray, towards the end, I was just telling Abang Hafizi, whenever I finish my prayer, I always say, what do you call it? And use me for your purpose. That is the one sentence I always tell Allah after I pray, use me for your purpose. I'm 62. I don't have anything. I mean, I've already reached the top of the hill and I'm going down. So at the time that I have left, I want to give back. I want to give back to those out there. This is what a true Muslim should do, I think, to teach others. We went for Umrah together. I've been. It is. Do I still have time?
2 more minutes.
And in the end, it's like this. My journey through all the religions is all the same. No religion teaches you to do bad. All religions teach you the same. It can be summed up in one sentence. Do unto others as you would like others to do unto you. That's all. That is life. Do unto others as you would like others to do unto you. How would you like to be treated? You treat others. It will be perfect. This world will be perfect. Religion teaches you about the past and the future, but spirituality teaches you of the present. You know? And we are looking at it wrongly. If you want to really know about it, we are all spiritual beings going through a human experience. We are not human beings going through a spiritual experience. Because in the end, once we leave this body, when we die, what are we? Spirit. Yes, exactly. So, we are spiritual beings first, going through a human experience. Okay, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kamal. Thank you for the honest sharing. So anyway, you guys have heard my sharing, and also Kamal's sharing. So any questions or anything you guys want to share? Any questions that you guys want to ask?
Can I share something?
Yes, please, Khalid.
Okay. I was thinking that if people ask, what has Islam showed examples of how addiction has been cured? What did Islam do? For example, if you want to research, I was thinking, and I was thinking about the definition of addiction just now, of something chronic. So in my opinion, I say Islam has proved itself that it can solve the problem of addiction, exemplified by the case of the Quraysh community. The Quraysh community back then, they were like addicted to sex, prostitution, gambling. They were killing alcohol. I mean, it was the ruffians. They were savages. But when Islam came and changed them, and not only just a person, but it's a whole society. In that period of time, they would change from savages into a unit of people that can win wars and all that.
Yeah.
And from then onwards, these people, the people in Mecca, found glory and victory. And the process is not easy. So maybe we can perhaps take some lessons from there. How the Quraysh would change. I mean.
So this is what we have been doing in Pengasih. Like I have explained to you guys earlier during my introduction what Pengasih is. Pengasih is an association run exclusively by former drug users. So we have been existed since almost 30 years. This year is our 29th. Okay, next year will be our 30th. So what we did was, it started with a small group of friends. Okay, there were 6 of us, the founders, Haji Ramli, Dato' Yunus Pati, and 3-4 of his friends. Okay, they they wanted to stop. They had the conviction to stop, and then they felt guilty. They were discussing amongst themselves. They were guilty, saying that, Alhamdulillah, as of now, we managed to keep our addiction under control. We have been off it. Okay, we are able to pray. We are able to sleep. Enjoy life, and then. But don't you guys feel guilty because you're able to do this, and knowing that your friends, your close friends, are still on it, are still in and out of institutions, in and out of prisons. You have to do something. So they were discussing. That was when the idea of forming the association. Okay, why don't we make a rehab? We form an association. We advocate for recovery. We go and outreach our friends in need. We show them, we guide them, we show them the way, how to be like us, how to stop. Okay. So that was 29 years ago. So, and what they did was, they began from at that time they were using this Jamaah Tabligh approach, where they go house to house, people go to other institutions and talk about change, hijrah, repent, taubah. Okay, so it worked because why they are using themselves as proof that people can change. So the concept is similarly like from Mecca, hijrah to Madinah, from the community of Meccans to the community of Madinah. Same. Well, people like me, like Khalid, like brother Abdullah, like Kamal Ajit, hijrah. We were in a community where we did everything. Everything that was forbidden, we did. The alcohol, the stealing, you name it. We heard our family members, we were being very rude and disrespectful towards our loved ones, my mother, my dad, So, then we were taken, we went to live in a community where, the Madani community in Pangasi, a community of like-minded individuals, people with the same experience. But the difference is, they used to do drugs, they used to do all these things, but now they are here in the present moment talking about change. Doing Islamic practices, the zikir, the 5 times daily prayer, and then practicing spiritual values, practicing shukur, practicing gratitude, practicing honesty, genuine care and concern, until we practice that every day, living in that community until it becomes a part of us, until it becomes a lifestyle. Being in a community can really change. A person can change just by living in a community and believing and following their lifestyle and believing the community's belief. So like how it changed me, how it changed Kamal. When I came into treatment, when I was released from prison when I was 19 in 1997. I was in this community when I was 19. Now I've been there for 23 years. So you do your own calculation. I grew up there. Okay, so, and then I felt that I belonged. I belonged to a group of people, and I feel good doing it. I feel that I have a purpose. I did my hijrah because hijrah is a process. I did my hijrah, and then I was given the opportunity to da'wah. da'wah and to also pull other people to change, to do tawbah. You know, this is what keeps me going throughout these 23 years, man. I could have simply gone work elsewhere, but I chose working there is my own personal choice because it gives me a sense of purpose, direction, and meaning. This is why I reach out to Aman today, because this is my part. I want to play my part as a community member, giving back. Nak tambah?
In my experience, I find at present, why has mankind, why has the younger generation deviated? It's because they lack spirituality. Humans not complete. Human not complete. It doesn't have spirituality. You need spirituality to complete yourself, which is lost in the younger generation.
Hi, can I call Abang Kamal?
Yes.
Okay, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.
My question is, you are 62, right? How old are you when you was as a drug addict? How old are you that time?
When I first started,
Yeah.
I was
How long you been practice that? Being as a drug addict. That's my question.
being a substance abuse drug addict was short while. It's about 6 years when I was in India.
Okay.
That's from the age of 19 to 24, 25,
35.
25, 19 to 25. Substance was that's 6 years only. When I came back to Malaysia, I haven't taken any drug. It was alcohol.
Okay, all right. So how do you manage your health during particular time and then until you reach at 62? Mostly because some of the drug addicts, they won't live longer. Yeah? Unless except those people who actually knows, reversing themselves, take care, back to Allah, repent themselves. But I just want to know, how do you take care of yourself during particular time? Are you on medicines or you get treatment spiritually from yourself between you and Allah?
I know.
Spill the bean. Exercise, man.
Yeah.
Oh, you did exercise.
You see, that period when I was doing substance, besides alcohol, was 6 years. At that time when I was in the university, I used to play a lot of games. I used to play games. Football field in the evening, football, evening badminton in the hall. So that kept me fit in an aspect. And the substance that time was not, I was not injecting. It was not in the bloodstream. It was just ganja, cannabis. I left substance. I became an alcoholic. Alcohol, the severity of the alcohol was only a few years, 3 or 4 years. The remainder part, I was working and I was drinking. So I used to drink after work, but at the same time it was work. So it was not so detrimental to my health. I was not injecting. Whereas the substance abusers at that time were shooting heroin, were injecting heroin. They used to smoke it and they were shooting. Drugs are more dangerous. Yeah. So my tenure with the substance was not that long.
So
Exercise is important.
So today I will be exercise after this.
Yeah, I would advocate it.
I wish you, pray for you to live longer.
Oh, really? Thank you very much. Allahu Akbar.
Allah Akbar.
So if for different people, there seem to be different ways of recovering from addiction, or
Of course, there are different pathways to recovery. One size does not fit all. Okay, what works for me does not necessarily.
for you is passion in doing this. For
Yeah.
him, it's a combination of spiritual.
That the word he used, passion. Yes. What turns you on? What is your
Drive.
What is your drive? At the moment, everyone is turned on by this. Sorry. We're all addicted. Guys, sorry, let's face it. Can I say?
Okay, yes, sister, you have a question?
It's not a question, but you said to share anything.
Yes, please. Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in what you're saying, that connection is like the root cause for addiction and or lack of connection. But what I want to share is mainly probably to sisters, but to some brothers as well, which is not to get into the habit thinking that we have to be the hero for someone else's addiction. And I'm speaking from personal experience that I was with someone who had severe addiction, and it wasn't drugs, it was porn, and it was video games and things like that, which you wouldn't put under the typical addiction thing until there's detriment to the relationship. But then it's very natural for the people in that person's lives to feel like they have to be the reason that they get better. They have to love them unconditionally, which they do, and if they don't show that, then they're not going to get better. However, the thing that I want to put out to the world is you can love them, but you also have to protect yourself as well. You have to have your own boundaries, and if you loving someone who's got addiction means that it's causing you harm, then you really need to think about that as well. And loving someone who's got addiction, it might mean putting them in better hands and giving them to professionals, as opposed to putting yourself in that detriment.
Yes, I agree, because you are not well trained and well equipped to deal with his issues. So you need to refer him to professionals. Then one more, there's a quotation from the Quran that Allah will not change the condition of a person or a group of people unless they themselves change themselves. Thank you for your sharing here.
From my research, I see that there is a charge.
Of course,
To join Pengasih.
Yes.
And whatever centers that the government is running is practically full, and there's nowhere to place anyone.
Right.
The police is not going to do anything. The agency anti-dadah kebangsaan is basically just sitting on their whatever that they are doing, they're supposed to be doing.
That's your opinion.
Yeah. So that's my opinion after dealing with these organizations. And generally most of the people who needs help are not in a position to, let's say, stay there for 9 years. I don't know whether you're staying there for free or you're paying for it or whatever. So my question is, in terms of Pengasih, how do you define success in terms of your treatment?
Okay.
And do you have any, do you take any pro bono cases?
Oh, yes, okay. One, yes, Pengasih is, we are an NGO and we are running a private rehabilitation centers. Okay. So we are not funded by the government. We don't receive fixed grant from the government. Of course, we need money to operate. Okay. But we are charging a minimal charge of 1,500 a month. Okay, 1,500 a month is only for the food and lodging. Okay, six times meals a day. Okay, 6 times. Yeah, you have breakfast, you have tea break, you have lunch, you have tea break, you have dinner, you have supper. Okay, so roughly a day is 30 ringgit. If 30 ringgit covers for daily food, if a month, how much? Okay, so we don't charge for professional expertise, the counseling, the family therapy, the psycho-education, no, just only for food and lodging one. Okay, because we need the money to operate. Otherwise, our staff, we are paying them salaries, allowance. We need to pay the bills, transportation. Okay, all this. So anyway, but yes, we also take pro bono cases, of course. Yes, we call them under quota cases, where if we screen them that they really cannot afford to pay, we'll take them anyways. And then also there are other organizations, other rehabilitation centers, which offers also free treatment services, funded by Jawi, JAIS, Jabatan Agama Islam Selangor. Okay, so these are free treatment centers. Yeah, other options lah nak di pengasih. And the ADK, the government also offers free treatment services first. And treatment does not mean that a person has to only be admitted or to a primary residential setting. Treatment can also be an outpatient treatment where they come once or twice a week, or they come only for counseling, or they come for medication. Different settings of treatment. Not necessarily that a person has to stay there for months. Okay, brother. Okay. Ada lagi? Okay. Kalau tak ada, satu, tak ada, dua, going three. So I will hand over this session to Brother Khalid to close this session. But before that, thank you very much for the attendance. Thank you very much for the participation. And I hope what me and Brother Kamal shared will be of a benefit to everyone here, to all of you guys, and to our community. That's my niat. Okay, moga sesi ini diberkati oleh Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. So, okay, over to you, brother.
Okay, thank you, Afizi, for the talk, for the slides that you prepared, make us understand about addiction. I think most of us by now would have some understanding, in-depth understanding at least, on how addiction works. Actually, I have one last question. Sorry.
Okay.
One last question. We talk about love, we talk about addiction, but where does the mercy come in?
Mercy lah. If Allah does not show His mercy, I wouldn't be here. Kamal wouldn't be here. Mercy means that you are feeling hopeful, despite feeling hopeful for Allah's forgiveness and compassion. Despite, we did a lot of things. We are sinful. We are sinners. But despite that, feeling all the guilt, knowing that Allah is angry, Allah is angry, Allah is angry, but still feeling hopeful that Allah, yes, all merciful. Knowing that, you are created, Allah will not put you in harm's way. Okay, as long as you repent, as long as you, seek Him out, go back to Him, you call Him once, He'll come back running to you 100 times. This mercy is the feeling of hopefulness that Allah loves you. I cannot be here if it wasn't for, that feeling, that hopeful feeling, that knowing that Allah loves me. So tutup dengan tasbih kifarah. Subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.